for long-distance love, for the far-sighted, nearsighted, for introverts.
So senators are still angered that you've got a group of leaders, senior leaders in this country, that can sit down somewhere and converse and vow that they're not going to obey the Constitution. We have the power, we have the mandate to compel them, to force them, and even if it was to come to it, Madam Speaker, we shall call the DPP and ask the DPP why he's not preferring charges in cases of obvious contempt of Parliament and in cases of obvious violation of various statutes and even the Constitution. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I do not support this amendment to the original motion, but for avoidance of doubt, the original motion as presented by Senator Ledama Olekina, I am in full support. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Kajwang. Senator Sige can take the mic.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, once again for giving me this opportunity. First, I want to also come on record. I have spoken to the original motion, Madam Speaker, where I am in full support, and to the extent that the motion originally drafted speaks to the main mandate of this House and the situation that we've lately been experiencing in terms of execution of our mandate, I want to appreciate the work that these two committees, the CPIC and CPAC committees, as created by our standing orders, have undertaken for the period that led to the conversation on this particular motion that we are in. And so, Madam Speaker, to the extent that we are seeking to create an ad hoc committee of 15 members in place of the two committees which are select and created under standing orders 193 and 194 of the standing orders of the House, I also do not support that. And the reason, Madam Speaker, I don't support the creation of an ad hoc committee is that when you look at the standing order that creates these two committees, their roles are very specific. When you equally look at the work that has so far been done by these two committees, excuse me, the work that has been done by these two committees, including the experiences that they have had wherever they go out to the field in implementing and executing their mandate, there is no need, Madam Speaker, for a creation of an ad hoc committee to replace the two committees. The idea behind that creation could have been informed by the fights that have come from those whom we are oversighting, the governors, who are a subject of the reports, which reports have come over and above the work of the two committees, but also the work of the Office of the Auditor General. It does not require an ad hoc committee to do it. Senator Kajwang has simply put, explaining the fact that the membership to these two committees have had first-hand experience in terms of the role that they have made. If we were then to create an ad hoc committee comprising new members, we will definitely be expecting them, first of all, to understand how and what this mandate expects of them as members to do. Number two, in terms of what we have received so far, none, I believe, from among the members of this House have had any deficiency in the report that the two committees have given us. And therefore, I want us, and I want the colleagues on this House to engage in supporting the original motion, and maybe to the extent that we only would wish to give a certain timeline within which these two committees are to give their reports. That could be the only limp of the proposal to amend that I'll support, but otherwise, as regards the creation of an ad hoc committee, Madam Speaker, let us not create one. We have had a debate at Liaison on an implementation committee that previously was there in the standing orders but does not exist anymore. And the justification for that creation was never availed, and it did not get the support. It therefore means that the respective committees and members of that committee who also have got the mandate within the standing orders to follow through the implementation, especially them knowing very well the relevant government agencies, institutions, and personnel in those institutions who are supposed to support the implementation, would be the best placed persons to follow through the implementation. If we were then to bring in new members who will be members of this ad hoc committee, it means we are going to be sort of reinventing the wheel. And therefore, I do not wish that we support the proposal to amend the original motion, but instead give more strength to the two committees by the support that the whole House has given in ensuring that the recommendations that have been made, whether it is to an agency like the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission that reports to JLAC, where I and you, Madam Speaker, sit, ours would be to lend support to the report of CPAC and CPIC and ensure that we follow through the representation that is at the EACC to make sure that if they were supposed to conduct further investigations within a certain timeline, let's say 6 months, we don't allow them to go beyond the 6 months. And if there is any summon required as of any committee of this House to do, we push them to make sure that we implement. Same case applies to other committees. If it's about labor and related committee, Madam Speaker, could you kindly protect me from the character of Senator
Honorable Senators, can the distinguished senator of Bomet County be heard in silence?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Kajwang, can you settle down? Senator Eddie, don't disrupt the proceedings or the flow of thought from the distinguished senator. Senator Sige,
I know Eddie generally as a fine gentleman, but today I think he must have had one too many in form of probably the lunch break that we have had, but I appreciate the support. And Madam Speaker, I was concluding by saying that we do not wish to reinvent the wheel. Let us support, as other select committees of this House, the report and the recommendation that has come from CPAC and the other committees in ensuring that those government agencies mandated to implement, to execute, do so. That is the only way we will strengthen the work of this House. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I do not support this proposed amendment to the original motion. And for avoidance of doubt as well, I, however, fully support the original motion that required us to make those recommendations that will support the oversight role of this House and will call to book and to answer those governors who have been found to have abused their offices in one way or the other by misusing public resources and failing to appear to answer to the concerns raised by the committees of this House and the rest of the public that have done several petitions before the House and other committees of this House. I thank you.
Senator Osotsi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, from the onset, I want to oppose this amendment. The amendment to try and amend the motion to provide for the setting up on an ad hoc committee on this matter. Madam Speaker, first of all, this amendment is unconstitutional. If you read Article 2 to 9 of the Constitution, that talks about the oversight of audit reports, it implies that there would be standing committees, oversight committees, that will deal with this matter. So an ad hoc committee may actually be in contravention of the law, the Constitution, for an ad hoc committee to oversight, carry out audit-related oversight roles. That will be against the Constitution. At the same time, Madam Speaker, it will also be against the Public Audit Act, which provides that there would be substantive committees of Parliament that will carry out oversight over audit reports. So this amendment, if carried as it is, will basically make the entire motion unconstitutional and unlawful. Secondly, Madam Speaker, I sit in a liaison committee, and we made a decision at liaison committee that ad hoc committees will be used sparingly, so that we don't have a situation where we have just ad hoc committee for functions that can be carried out by substantive committee. And that decision was made, and that decision stands, and that decision is the decision that has been used even to allocate budgets to committees. So introducing such a committee at this point in time will actually negate that decision by the liaison committee, which is a very important committee in this House. And thirdly, Madam Speaker, the follow-up on the audit report will require institutional memory. If you have 15 members who are new, who are not involved from the start, now being involved to follow up on the implementation, that would be a mistake, and that would actually not lead into any desired results or outcome. So I oppose this amendment, and I call upon members to also oppose this amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Osotsi. Senator Mudigi.
Asante Madam Speaker kwa kunipa nafasi
nafasi
niweze kuchangia mjadala ambayo unaendelea ya kufanya amendment mambo ya PAC hizi timu mbili vile walikuwa wanafanya kazi. Kitu ya kwanza nashukuru sana kwa sababu mahakama ilikubali magavana wawe wakiingia katika PAC na ile kamati nyingine iweze kuangalia vile kazi ama utendaji wa kazi ama vile pesa ya wananchi inatumika. Madam Speaker, mimi nikiwa Senator Embu County napinga mjadala wa Senator Landema ya kufanya amendment, kwa sababu tukianja hiyo kitu italete mambo mingi na itaonekana sisi maseneta hakuna kazi huwa tunafanya. Bwana Speaker, magavana wangetaka tuwasaidie Madam Speaker, wangeandika barua kwa kamati ambaye zile ziko hapa, tukae chini tafute dialogue, na pia kamati ya Powers and Privileges of Senate. Lakini wakufanya hivyo, Bwana Speaker, walijipiga kifua, wengine wakatoroka na wakaenda wakakaa chini waikao huko Mombasa. Tulikuwa naona mambo ya wakiongea wakipinga masenators ile kamati mbili. Kwa hivyo Madam Speaker, mimi nikiwa Senator Embu County nakumbusha Senate na watu wa Kenya namna hii. Nakumbuka Madam Speaker, wakati tulikuwa hapa tuliona county 12 ambazo zilikuwa pata pesa kidogo, wale magavana walitulilia na tukakaa chini Madam Speaker, na hizo county ikapata pesa, na magavana wengine hizo pesa imewasaidia. Nakumbuka kama kuna gavana mwingine najua kama gavana wa Embu County ameajiri walimu 100 wa ICD saa hii, pia ataajiri madaktari. Kwa hivyo Madam Speaker, nikiwa Senator Embu County nataka niambie magovernors, huwezi kuwa senator wakati unahitaji pesa mwaka ikienda kuisha, baadaye kuja kufanya oversight ama kuongea mambo mengine unakuwa mnapinga. Kwa hiyo Madam Speaker, mimi nasema ile kamati mbili iendelee na kazi yake. Mambo ya amendment hakuna anja, ndio uweze kuona tunafanya kazi kulingana ile inafaa. Tukiingilia mambo ya amendment ni kama kumaanisha zile kamati zingine zote ni kama asinjui inafanya kazi namna gani. Kwa hiyo Madam Speaker, ningeomba maseneta wote tuunge mjadala ile wa samani mkono, ndio magavana waweze kukuja kurundisha na kusema vile wametumia pesa ya umma. Lakini Madam Speaker, ningeomba ING na pia watu wa intelligent na kona zote ile kamati mbili mko na uwezo ya kuleta mambo yote katika seneti hii, tuweze kuona ni magavana gani ambaye wataki kufanya kazi na kujibu maswali, ndio waweze kuchukuliwa hatua. Na pia Madam Speaker, ningeruhusa ile kamati kama kuna njia yoyote inaweza tumika, ukute kama mwezi wa 6 kama magavana awanza kuwa amerudisha ripoti ya vile wametumia pesa ya county, kama wanaweza kuandika barua iende kwa treasury, ukute wale ile zile counties asitaweza kupata pesa. Kwa hiyo nikiwa senator wa Embu County, mimi napinga mjadala wa Senator Randema. Asante Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Mudigi. Senator Hamida.
Madam Speaker, I just want to say I oppose the motion. It's as simple as that. I mean, there's no way that the mother, it's only the mother committee that can sit on this one, but then you cannot have an implementation committee who have not worked on it. And what time do we have, Madam Speaker, for them to scrutinize and work on the report? So I oppose the motion, and it remains that way, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Senators, there are no more senators willing to contribute on this issue. And at this stage, I am putting the question. Can we confirm quorum first? Clerk, can you confirm quorum? Can you confirm quorum again? Confirm quorum. The quorum is confirmed, so I'm proceeding to put the question. Honorable Senators, I put the question that, can you settle down, Honorable Senators? Please take your seats. Senator Eddy, that's the second time you are disrupting honorable members when they are in the course of their business. Honorable Senators, I put the question that the motion be amended by A, deleting the word select committees on CPAC and CPI and SF immediately appearing in paragraph 5 of the motion, and substituting with the words to establish an ad hoc committee comprising 15 senators, 2, and B, inserting a new resolution after the resolution listed at number 4, submit a final report to the Senate within 90 days from its establishment. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The nays have it. The amendment is rejected. So, honorable senators, the amendments have not been carried through, so we are reverting back to the original motion, and it's now time for senators to contribute to the original motion. I have Senator Wakoli with a request to speak on this motion. Do you wish to speak on this motion, or it's a mistake on the system? Okay. Senator Wakoli, you could acquit yourself by just saying whether you support or do not support the motion, and then we move on.
I don't support the motion.
The original motion. Do you support the original motion?
The original one, yes.
You support?
Yes.
Okay. That's the end of the senators who wish to contribute to the original motion. And now I want to call upon the mover of the motion, Senator Ledama, to reply.
Madam Speaker, accountability is not optional. I thank all the senators who have spoken on this matter. It is time that we take this issue of accountability, fiduciary responsibility, very seriously. I thank all the senators. The governors must listen to this House. This House was established by statute, it was established by the Constitution, and trying to develop their own legislation is to amend the Constitution from the back door. So, Madam Speaker, I thank all the senators who have spoken to this, on this motion, and I do hope that the two committees, CPAC and CPIC, will be able to move expeditiously. And I hope that the committee, and actually the two sides of the aisle, will agree to my motion and hold these governors accountable. It is imperative that you take note of the fourth resolution that we are seeking, which is to cooperate with the other oversight bodies, ESCC, DCI, the Controller of Budget, and the Auditor General, to ensure that everything that this House has resolved to come into fruitful. I thank you, Madam Speaker, and I beg to reply.
Thank you, Senator Ledama. Kindly, Clerk, can you confirm that we have quorum to proceed on with the putting of the question? I confirm that we have quorum pursuant to Standing Order 42. It is ascertained, so, and I also confirm that this, I make a determination that the matter does not affect counties. It does. Okay, I confirm and make a determination that the matter does not affect counties. Senate is giving itself responsibility on the oversight. Honorable Senators, I put the question that aware that Article 96(1) and 3 of the Constitution mandates the Senate to represent counties, protect their interests, and oversee national revenue allocated to county governments, and that Article 229(8) and the Public Audit Act require Parliament to debate audit reports and act within 3 months, concerned that despite repeated invitations and summons, 15 county governors defied the select committees on CPAC and CPI and SF by refusing to appear and answer for financial mismanagement and accountability failures in the Auditor General's year 2024-2025 reports, appreciating that CPAC and CPI and SF diligently interrogated the Auditor General's issues, filed reports within constitutional timelines, and secured Senate approval on 31st March 2026, noting the urgent need for rigorous follow-up on these recommendations and ongoing Senate oversight of the implementation. Now, therefore, notwithstanding Standing Order 225, the Senate resolves that the select committees on CPAC and CPI-NSF immediately, 1, track implementation of the Senate-approved recommendations and table monthly progress reports detailing compliance status. 2, fast-track the next audit cycle by prioritizing Auditor General's reports on county financial statement for the year ended 30th June 2026, tabling committee reports promptly to enable thorough senatorial scrutiny. 3, enforce fiduciary accountability by resummoning non-compliant county governors, recommending sanctions for defiance, including budget withholding under Article 229, and escalating unresolved cases to the Controller of Budget, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission or Director of Public Prosecutions as appropriate. 4, collaborate with oversight bodies, Controller of Budget, EACC and DPP to impose consequences under Chapter 6, Leadership and Integrity, for governors' failure to appear, including contempt charges, suspension of county equitable share, personal liability for losses, and disqualification from future electoral candidacies. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order. Honorable Senators, I will reorganize the order paper and defer order number 9 to number 12 because we do not have the requisite quorum, and we'll also further reorganize order number 13 up to order number 22 and defer the same pending quorum issues, and now proceed on to the next order. Next order, number 23.
Order number 23, motion, report of the Standing Committee on Health on a petition to the Senate by the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, KUCO, regarding alleged discrimination, interference, and violation of clinical officers' practice rights by the Ministry of Health, the Council of Governors, and the Social Health Authority. Resumption of debate.
Senator Cherargei, were you the one on the floor when this motion was deferred to today?
Okay.
Senator Cherargei, you have a balance of 10 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will utilize it properly. Yesterday, Madam Speaker, coincidentally, you are also on the seat. I think so. I'm privileged, and I want to repeat what I said yesterday, that I am the one who read this petition on behalf of the Kenya Union Council of Clinical Officers, KUCO. Madam Speaker, and yesterday I liked the history of clinical officers, that most of them ensure our facilities function wherever they are. Madam Speaker, I want to thank, as I second this report from the Committee on Health, that they have made serious recommendations in terms of ensuring that clinical officers are empaneled by the SHA. Madam Speaker, Social Health Authority, which they have been excluded, Madam Speaker, and you know, it was subjecting them to double licensing because clinical officers are already licensed by the Clinical Officers Council, and they used to operate under NHIF in the 1,000 facilities that were there. And we have to appreciate, Madam Speaker, that clinical officers are over 30,000 in this country, both in public and private facilities, and therefore it was subjecting them to discrimination. That is violation of Article 27, Madam Speaker, because you cannot tell them to be licensed by Clinical Council of Kenya, then Clinical Officers Council, then you call them to also being licensed by Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council, KMPDC, which is contrary to the law. And I'm happy the Committee of Health found that as a violation of their rights, violation of the law, and by extent it undermines Article 43 on provision of quality health care in the country. Madam Speaker, also another aspect I wanted to appeal, and I'm happy the CS was here today, is the ping-pong of universal health coverage, Madam Speaker. You remember the issue of UHC, and the Minister and the Council of Governors must be called out because they are yet to transit the universal health coverage officers, Madam Speaker, and even who are in Global Fund, Madam Speaker. That matter was resolved, and the Ministry of Health has agreed to transfer, including the payment, severance payment, and other payments under your UHC program to the counties. Madam Speaker, the UHC staff must know that the failure of confirmation has been occasioned by non-compliance by Council of Governors or various county governors and county governments across the country. Madam Speaker, I think in future we might cite Council of Governors and the governors in the country are being the biggest violators of human rights, including labor rights, because, Madam Speaker, you being one of the senior lawyers in Article 41 of the Constitution, labor rights is a basic right and it should be protected as so. And I know even in Migori the situation is similar. It goes without going concern. And the young man from Migori, Senator Eti, one of the young men elected under ODM, but I don't see him attending the regional rally in Malindi. I hope he will be included, Madam Speaker. And therefore, the issue of internship posting delays has left over 5,400 qualified practitioners, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, some of these interns are the age of your sons and daughters, Madam Speaker. So it is very unfortunate that the issue of UHC, and I've been very passionate about it, that the UHC, Madam Speaker, the history of UHC, in 2020, when the soldiers in barracks could not come out, when the bombs could not become relevant, when the bullets were useless, the only real heroes of the fight against COVID-19 was universal health coverage staff, Madam Speaker. They have been frustrated, they have been depressed, Madam Speaker, because there is a ping-pong game being played by the governors in this country. They want to employ their court jesters instead of confirming these 5,400 UHC staff, Madam Speaker, including the Global Fund staff, Madam Speaker. And therefore, it is very unfortunate. They must be confirmed, Madam Speaker. And I call upon, I'm happy the Ministry of Health has indicated that now the role and Kenyans and UHC staff that are watching us today, they should go to their governor's office and demand that they must be observed into permanent and pensionable, Madam Speaker. Even diploma and clinical officers need their allowances to be appraised, Madam Speaker, which is very critical, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Public Service Commission approved cancer guidelines for clinical officers in May 2024, but the county governments have failed to follow, Madam Speaker. It has to be noted. This undermines career progression, promotions, and fair redesignation and prioritization for clinical officers, and that is why SHA does not have any reason why to deny clinical officers from being empaneled under SHA that they don't need to go beyond KMPDC, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wanted to make a point that even in Nandi, 3 months, nurses in Nandi are yet to be paid their stipend as per the law, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I always wonder whether governors live in utopia or in Mars, Madam Speaker. I don't know whether they live. These people should know that our nurses, our health practitioners have their families to feed. They have rent to pay. They have school fees to pay, Madam Speaker. Why are we becoming insensitive? This culture of not paying stipend to nurses, for example, by the governor of Nandi, has embarrassed everybody, Madam Speaker. When we visited Meteitei the other day, we visited Kapsabet County Referral, we visited Nandils, Madam Speaker. They cannot even pay staff. The hospital is very dirty. The toilets are in deplorable conditions, Madam Speaker. In fact, if you go to Kapsabet County Referral Hospital, Madam Speaker, and you are sick, you will decline to be admitted. You go back with your sickness. Because if you stay in hospital, you become more sick, Madam Speaker. So it is very unfortunate that we must address the issue of UHC under the guidelines of Public Service Commission and county governments must. These are the conversations we should be having with Council of Governors, not about an appearance to answer audit queries. These are the real conversation, Madam Speaker. Even the Global Fund staff, when the USAID was removed, those Global Aid Fund staff must be observed in our counties because health is devolved under 4th schedule of the Constitution of Kenya, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the return to work agreement and collective bargaining agreement must and should be fully implemented. They must be posting of all clinical officers due for internship with harmonized payments for PSC circulars as per the Public Service Circulars and in consultation under Salaries and Remuneration Commission, Madam Speaker. This will ensure that clinical officers who are the beacon of our success story on health, and I want to repeat what I said yesterday, Madam Speaker, the success and failure of devolution in our country will only be based on one thing. It will be based on the success of health as a house, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the report came from health in Wajir. People are living in cross-touch TP patients. They are not being given proper food and even medication in Wajir County, Madam Speaker. Yet, we are seeing the governors discussing other mundane issues that should not be relevant, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we need all these people to ensure that the MOUs and CBAs and return to work formula must and should be ensured. Madam Speaker, even in Nandi, for example, when we were there, we were being told the casuals are the ones doing cleaning, but they are not being paid their wages, Madam Speaker, and they are a very critical component in our health sector, especially in Nandi. I know other counties have outsourced the issue of cleanliness, Madam Speaker. You see the buildings that the newborn unit, Madam Speaker. We found in Kapsabet, the Kapsabet County Referral Hospital does not have a functional mortuary, Madam Speaker. We only have one functional mortuary at Nandil Sub-County Hospital Level 4, which has a capacity of 38 bodies, Madam Speaker. The program, you know, there is a lot of underperformance in terms of access to medical care. And you know Article 43, Madam Speaker, being one of the chair of women senators in the House, you need to come out strongly. Because we went to maternity wards, Madam Speaker. The women, the cleanliness, you got newborn unit, Madam Speaker, there is no way they are taking care. And you know some of these children are born not at full term by a mother. And they need newborn unit, they need where they can keep their baby safe. I know as the chair of female senators in this House, you must push through Linda Jamii. I know Kenyans should understand that Linda Mama was changed into Linda Jamii to ensure that these things are focused. So I want to thank the Committee of Health, Madam Speaker, for coming strongly and ensuring that clinical officers should and must be empaneled to the Social Health Authority without necessarily, Madam Speaker, through KMPDC, because they have been already cleared or licensed by clinical officers of Kenya. Madam Speaker, can I get 3 minutes so that I wind because I was seconded?
2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And you know, if you have like that, you will be the senator of Murang'a County. Or I don't know whether you want to be the county MP. Madam Speaker, and therefore I was insisting, and I hope Kenya Union Council of Clinical Officers must and ensure that the report we have done is to agree with them. And I will talk to our brother who is doing a good job, CS Aden Duale, to ensure we remove bureaucracies in terms of empanelment so that access to medical care should be. And I want to say in conclusion, Madam Speaker, I know on Friday we'll be hosting His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya in Murang'a, and I'm happy there is excitement in Murang'a about hosting the President in Murang'a. I know Murang'a is one of the strongholds of President William Ruto and the broad-based government. Madam Speaker, the issue SHA is working. But you know, Kenyans think it does not work because when they go to an hospital, they don't get drugs. And they spend out of output. Because you see, by the time patient walks into an hospital, they get consultation, they get laboratory tests, they get to be treated by the doctor. But when prescription of drugs are done, because governors have failed providing drugs, Madam Speaker, the Kenyans think that it's not working because the drugs are not in the hospital. So it is the challenge to Council of Governors, including in Migori, in Homa Bay, Madam Speaker, in Nandi, to provide drugs so that when a SHA patient works in Migori County Referral Hospital, Madam Speaker, they are able to get the medical service and get the drugs, Madam Speaker. So SHA is working. That is why 30.5 million Kenyans are registered today, Madam Speaker. And Kenya is one of the top upper middle level income economy. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, because I saw a minister in Tanzania trying to answer President William Ruto about the middle income status of Kenya. The economy in Kenya is doing better than Tanzania, and we will not allow anybody who is below the president to answer them. We expect the president of equal country to answer them. Madam Speaker, with those many remarks, I beg to second. I was watching the changeover, so I thought I would.
Thank you, Senator Cheradigei. Enough, Senator Eddie Okech. No, sorry, Senator Kajwang. Sorry for that, Senators. Senator Cheradigei was seconding, not debating. So I'll propose, Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the Senate adopts the report of the Standing Committee on Health on a petition to the Senate by the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, KUCO, regarding alleged discrimination, interference, and violation of clinical officers' practice rights by the Ministry of Health, the Council of Governors, and the Social Health Authority, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 1st April 2026. And now the motion is open for debate by the senators. And I invite Senator Eddie Okech to debate this motion.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. You see, right now, I am becoming of age in this House, so I could not be able to let a procedural element of this motion pass. That's why I was a little bit impatient when you called me, Madam Speaker. It was not in any terms to disregard your dignity. But that said, Mr. Speaker now, Mr. Speaker, the issue of healthcare in this country is a wanting one. And Mr. Speaker, I must say that this is a devolved function for which we must not lose our sight on. Because anything that affects clinical officers, Mr. Speaker, affects the entire healthcare. Because clinical officers, Mr. Speaker, they are the primary healthcare delivery unit in our country. There is nothing you can be able to think about when you think about healthcare in this country without thinking about who becomes the first point of contact when any patients walk to any health facility that we have in this country. And time without number, we have seen a lot of patients, a lot of management in terms of how these clinical officers show up to for our people when they get to the hospitals. And it is not only in terms of normal treatments, Mr. Speaker, but also at times when we have got emergencies that need critical attention. The frontline emergency care is given by these clinical officers. A number of times, you can remember that during the times of COVID, these were the people whose life were put in danger when they were trying to come in crucial moment in managing emergency medical services for our people. And it cannot be understated to say that any time that they have got CBAs that are supposed to be honored by different governments, that is the county government and national governments, they are not honored, Mr. Speaker. We must stand firm as a Senate for clinical officers in this country, Mr. Speaker. And this is not just for the sake of it. It is crucial to understand that if you look at countries that have made advancement in terms of medical stability, you will understand, Mr. Speaker, that the medical stability of any country is based on the cost of delivery of any medical facilities. And that cost of delivery, Mr. Speaker, if there are people who contribute to the reduced healthcare costs and even better retention of any services that are given to them, Mr. Speaker, it is the clinical officers compared to the doctors. Because these clinical officers, Mr. Speaker, will ensure that they help address the entire shortages that we face in terms of workforce in any hospital facility, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, sometimes they have even struggled where there is no specialized access to any form of care. Even where they struggle, they still try and lend a hand, Mr. Speaker. So we, as a people, must come up with a way of actually protecting them. And that brings me to, in a very brief way, add my voice that this report, when you read it, Mr. Speaker, is a report that actually reflects a lot of issues that we end up dealing with in CIPIC. Because in CIPIC committee, where I'm the vice chair and Senator Sosi is the chair, we continuously deal with serious issues of healthcare in our healthcare facilities that are akin to what has been reported here, which is why I want to support this very strongly. To start with, Mr. Speaker, we have seen time without number a failed attempt by government to try to rally the country from seeing the national government as well as respective county governments not responding to all the collective bargain agreements that have been put in place by the Council of the Clinical Officers, Mr. Speaker. In 2024, Mr. Speaker, there was a collective bargain agreement that was signed. It was disregarded. Mr. Speaker, in 2025, there was another collective agreement that was signed regarding salaries and promotions and working conditions, Mr. Speaker. This was regarded. And the third part, Mr. Speaker, is that it is disregarded in so callous a way that even when we go to negotiations that have been time without number in the Finance and Budget Committee, when we go to the mediation for the monies that should go to counties, and even we successfully end up bargaining for additional allocation for people like healthcare workers, community healthcare workers. We have done this before, Mr. Speaker. Clinical officers, you remember last year, Mr. Speaker, I was sent out of this house for simply standing for this group of people by saying that there is no way national government can try to send a payroll to counties and say that they are mainstreaming this class of workers to county governments without having that function being followed by budget. I was thrown out of this house, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, this must stop, because if we don't stand up for these people, Mr. Speaker, the morale to even respond to emergency situation, Mr. Speaker, and sometimes be that point of contact in primary health care becomes a serious program. So you must be able to fight not only for salary increment, Mr. Speaker, but I've dealt with reports, a time without number, of a number of counties where you start realizing that it is not only the issue of low salaries that are not being affected, but also, Mr. Speaker, serious unpaid salaries and serious arrears that we end up having with these people not getting their monies. Mr. Speaker, I have got a number of counties that I can count them. It's just that there's no time. But if you look at our reports in CIPIC, there are counties that have not paid clinical officers for over 21 months. Mr. Speaker, just imagine a clinical officer showing up to a health facility, day in, day out, dealing with the dangers of dealing with emergency and contamination, sometimes where there's no proper equipment, and then goes without being paid for 21 months. It's a shame. It is injustice to this class of people who stabilize our healthcare system. Mr. Speaker, apart from this, we have seen a time without number the issue of job security, where contractual insecurity has permeated in our healthcare system, where many clinical officers, Mr. Speaker, particularly if you think about those who are of the caliber that do address the issue of universal healthcare coverage, Mr. Speaker, that we have in this country, we had the same fight. The minister showed up here, the CS Duale, and time without number, he refused to address that issue. That why is it that there is no job security to clinical officers in this country, so that if you are going to mainstream them in counties and remove them in the national payroll, can you be able to follow up with ensuring that there is proper financing and proper budgeting to ensure that they are put in permanent and pensionable schemes in this country that other people enjoy? Because surely without them, there's no stability in our Medicare. Mr. Speaker, alongside this, in this report, I have seen the issue of career progression. Mr. Speaker, if there is something that has been difficult to implement in this country, is making sure that clinical officers have got proper career progression. There is no place that we see a lot of stagnation in this country like these people who are taken just as mere indices for success in our hospitals. Mr. Speaker, we must fight and make sure that career progression of clinical officers is not only an issue of law and implementation, but also made as a timely promotion, where somebody who has achieved a certain kind of experience must be promoted on time and must be given the designation that they deserve, and make sure that they are not frustrated in the course of giving service because they don't see any career promotion, whether vertically and most importantly, vertically, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, close to my heart is this issue of poor working environment, Mr. Speaker. There is no challenges that these people face, like the working conditions that we see in our hospitals, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have made it my own habit that on 1st of every year, when we are celebrating New Year's, I don't go to any activity, but instead I go to our hospitals in Migori County to just see the sick, to visit them, and see how they are getting service, as well as see if I can be able to help a few. Mr. Speaker, if you go to the Migori District Referral Hospital, the condition in which the clinical officers are working in Migori Hospital is pathetic. Despite the fact that the governor of Migori County parades himself with millions of money every weekend, donating to churches, donating to funerals, donating to different activities, Mr. Speaker, tunes of millions of shillings, Mr. Speaker, the clinical officers in our facilities in Migori County have got no personal protective gears, what we call PPEs, and Mr. Speaker, the risk that they face is humongous, Mr. Speaker. There is no even proper way of dealing with clinical wastes in these hospitals, Mr. Speaker, so that a medical practitioner goes and helps a patient, and then he himself or herself is exposed to serious risks of being able to face contamination of the same waste that they are trying to solve in the hospital, Mr. Speaker. I have seen surgical operations happen in Migori County, Mr. Speaker, where even a simple place for a patient to be able to defecate is not possible, Mr. Speaker. People use kind of water that if you see, you wonder how are these clinical officers even surviving this kind of poor environmental exposure, to the extent that the unsafe conditions that they experience, especially in our level 4 and level 5 hospitals, Mr. Speaker, is something that we must support this report for, and we must follow it the same way we have followed on the report that we have just passed the implementation mechanism, and we must put an implementation mechanism that will ensure that the tenets of this report are achieved, Mr. Speaker. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, because I know my brother Senator Kajwang is keen to contribute in this, Mr. Speaker, a time without number in the reports that I've gone through in CPIC committee as the vice chair of CPIC, there is nothing that has been so painful to see like a clinical officer has been able to work, their salary is not coming on time, it is minute salary, and then they still face a serious issue that has been indicated here of non-remittance of statutory deduction, Mr. Speaker. Can you imagine, Mr. Speaker, that somebody who is having a meager earning, there is audacity among people working in county to collide among themselves and then take money meant for SHA from this group of people and not deliver it. Take money meant for payee and not deliver it. Take money meant for NITA and not deliver it where it is needed. Take money meant for NSSF and not remit it, Mr. Speaker. Then they are putting these clinical officers to reeling debt with statutory deductions, Mr. Speaker, so that they are going to be exposed to serious issues of interest, serious issues of penalties, that apart from the fact that they will not be able to have stability of disposable income in their lives, they will also continuously be paying for this debt, Mr. Speaker. This is something that must stop, and as a House, we must be able to be the champions for the welfare and well-being of this particular classification of people who are stabilizing our healthcare system. So, Mr. Speaker, with these few remarks, I hope that this House will arise, not to the occasion of just passing and adopting and passing this motion. I mean, this report has been indicated, Mr. Speaker, but I hope that we can be able to go an extra mile and follow through on the tenets of this report and make sure that clinical officers in our country have got proper welfare services and have got proper unionization in terms of the strength with which issues that they have raised in their unions can be able to be implemented by both the national government as well as the county governments. With those few or many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I gladly support this report. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Eddie, thank you for your contribution. I now call upon Senator Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. I want to first commend the committee led by Senator Mandago for bringing this report. This report is a matter of great national concern because clinical officers are often misunderstood. And yet, they are mid-level health professionals who, in many cases, are the only people available to attend to patients across the counties. In fact, some of them end up doing even minor surgeries. Mr. Speaker, clinical officers, or to be a clinical officer, it is a regulated profession, just like law or accountancy or procurement or engineering, because you have a clinical officers council that currently looks after close to 30,000 people. Mr. Speaker, we do recall early in the year, every other day that the House was sitting, you'd hear some vuvuzelas and whistles being blown out there. These were clinical officers who were demonstrating their constitutional right to protest, to picket, and to take measures to advance the welfare of their members. And Mr. Speaker, when this petition came to this House, it followed a 99-day strike. Way back in 2024, clinical officers were on strike for 99 days, almost 100 days. And Mr. Speaker, you'd ask yourself, if critical health workers are not working for 99 days, what does that say about the country's health? Later on in 2025, December, up to January 2026, for 36 days, the clinical officers were on a go-slow, and they were around. You could see them every other week on the streets. And Mr. Speaker, sometimes we think that clinical officers are idle, but the issues that they brought before the House and the issues that led to their strike are issues that we must deal with. And I'm glad that this Committee of Health, having considered the petition, has made certain recommendations. Mr. Speaker, the issues of concern that were brought to the Senate for its determination was that clinical officers are also allowed to run facilities. But when the Social Health Authority and the new health laws came into force, facilities run by clinical officers were not empaneled. And those facilities, we are told, are close to 1,000. So you've got about 1,000 facilities which could be providing basic primary health delivery, but they've not been empaneled under SHA. and therefore citizens cannot get services from them. And Mr. Speaker, I think this is a critical matter. Even though the committee has indicated that the Law Society of Kenya went to court over this matter, and the committee has told us that it considered the matter to be sub judice, and therefore it did not give any recommendation on it. Without wading into the substantive matters in court, I believe that clinical officers, once properly licensed, and their facilities, once properly licensed, there is no need to lock them out. Indeed, this country requires more facilities to be able to deliver the dream of universal health to the 55 million Kenyans. And if you find that a clinical officer has made an investment, and it's an investment that is properly regulated, properly licensed, there should be no problem for them to be empaneled and a share. But we shall leave that determination to the court. The other prayer, Mr. Speaker, was for clinical officers to be allowed to pre-authorize. And pre-authorization is an important step in medical claims management. Mr. Speaker, if clinical officers are regulated as per the Clinical Officers Act, one would argue that some of them have degrees, some have even postgraduate qualifications, that with a proper framework, there is no reason why they should not be allowed to pre-authorize. In fact, for private insurance companies that run medical insurance schemes, sometimes pre-authorization is done not just by the doctor, but even by, by the nurses or case managers, as the case may be. And so I hope that this issue of pre-authorization, even though it has not been indicated whether it was sub judice, but it makes sense for them to be given the right to pre-authorize medical claims cases. The key issue that the committee dealt with was on the return to work formula. As I indicated, clinical officers had been on strike for a collective duration of 135 days between the year 2024 to January 2026. And that definitely must have put a dent in healthcare provision in this country. Mr. Speaker, the return to work formula that was last signed between the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers and the Council of Governors brought to a halt a devastating situation where many of the facilities where Kenyans were expected to get primary service were not offering that. And it was a sigh of relief. However, the challenge was financing, because the return to work formula had certain financial implications. It had the Trade Union for Clinical Officers negotiated better medical risk allowances. They negotiated certain matters to do with career progression, and there was also the issue of conversion of the earlier UHC staff and Global Fund staff to permanent and pensionable terms. And I do believe that this House also stands with the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers to ensure that those pioneers in UHC, and some of us were in this House when the initial pilot of UHC was undertaken in a few counties, we would want to guarantee them that as pioneers, that they would have a future, and that they would not just be thrown out now that we've got a new substantive scheme in place, but that there'll be a transition for them from the initial UHC to the framework that we currently have. The costing of implementation of this return to work formula in the budget policy statement was 8.94 billion Kenya shillings. Mr. Speaker, I'm glad that National Treasury, when they brought their budget plans to Parliament, they indicated clearly that the additional allocation that will be going to county governments, 8.94 billion, ought to be ring-fenced for fulfillment of the agreement between the Council of Governors and the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers. And Mr. Speaker, I will be very happy as a member of this House who participates in division of revenue and allocation of revenue, and in coming up with a formula for sharing of revenue amongst counties. I'll be very happy to support that we send 8.94 billion additional to county governments to enable them take care of the clinical officers. And once we do that, we do not expect clinical officers to be back on the street again, picketing and blowing whistles and vuvuzelas the way they did for 135 days in the last 1 year. And personally, as a senator for Homa Bay, I want to give the clinical officers the confidence and the promise that my vote will be yes to an additional 8.94 billion to go towards their return to work formula. It does not matter what disagreement there may be between the Senate and the Council of Governors. It does not matter whether a governor and the senator are friends. What matters is that we, the people we represent, should be dear to our hearts, and we should look at them as the reason for us being in those offices. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, on the 8.94 billion additional to clinical officers, I hope and I believe that my colleagues will join me in making sure that this money goes to counties. And when it goes to counties, we pray that governors are going to put it to use. And this is a problem we are having, Mr. Speaker, that we stand here and eloquently speak about how counties need more money. And when we send that money to the counties, the people who are the chief executive officers of those entities do not want to come back to account. It cannot be that we always want to get more, and yet when you are called to account, we never show up. Mr. Speaker, in the division of revenue, I would also be happy this time, and this House must take a firm position. The community health volunteers or community health workers are still being paid from two sources: 2,500 from the national government, 2,500 from the county governments. Sometimes the county government is late, sometimes the national government is late. And yet, these are the main troops, these are the people at the forefront on this war against disease. This war that we waged even at independence. We took independence and said that we still had certain enemies, and one of the key enemies was disease. We must treat our community health volunteers in a better way. And that means the 2,500 that the national government is still holding should be sent to county governments. Mr. Speaker, community health volunteers should be employees, should have direct reporting lines to county governments. If there is national government intervention that they're expected to do, in proper corporate governance, you say it will be a dotted line reporting to the national government. But community health workers are critical assets for primary health care provision. They need to be remunerated properly. They need to be paid from a central point. And so, dear members, I hope that this time round we can take away the money that the national government has been holding for community health workers, take it to county governments, and put the county governments to account and ensure that all the community health workers are getting it. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, governors sometimes complain about the fiscal responsibility indicators and fiscal responsibility targets that we have put in our Public Finance Management Act. Governors would argue that if you onboard all the UHC staff, if you onboard all the former Global Fund staff, then my wage bill is going to go above 35%. Mr. Speaker, I am very ready to have a conversation between the Senate, between the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board, between the National Treasury, between the Council of Governors, and all the relevant players. It is my conviction that an investment by a county government into the salaries and remuneration of people who are involved in human capacity development should not be looked at as operational. Because the question has been, the salary for doctors and nurses, is it CAPEX or is it OPEX? In my view, when you employ a doctor, that doctor is a unit and a factor of production. And perhaps the cost of that doctor should be capitalized. It should not be taken as OPEX. We need to have a different accounting framework, Mr. Speaker, where critical workers in counties, doctors, nurses, early childhood education, agricultural extension workers, engineers, etc., we can categorize them separately so that a county is not afraid to hire more doctors because they're afraid of the 35% baseline. And it is a conversation that have floated to a number of governors. It is a conversation that have floated to the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board that we might need to reclassify certain expenditure. Of course, Mr. Speaker, there are other operational support staff in counties. That must still be looked at as OPEX. But their development and capacity-oriented workers in counties, Mr. Speaker, we must look at them from a capital perspective. That way, counties will be able to hire more nurses, hire more ECD teachers, and that they'll be able to hire people who add actual value. We have seen situations, Mr. Speaker, of even county assemblies. A county assembly has hit its employment ceiling, and yet it does not have a single legal counsel, does not have a single fiscal analyst. And you wonder, a county assembly, which is supposed to be doing legislation without a legal counsel, that's supposed to be scrutinizing budgets without a fiscal analyst. And it's because of that blanket categorization that all employee salaries should be operationalized. There are some people who deliver such a big service to our counties, and some people whose services are development in nature. And so, Mr. Speaker, I hope that governors will also take that argument and we advance it so that we have more useful people in our county governments. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the health laws that we passed when we sat in Turkana can only succeed if counties are alive to the fact that primary health care delivery is their responsibility. At the moment, you find everyone criticizing SHA, including the county governors themselves, forgetting that they are also players in this race, forgetting that SHA will look bad because someone went to a county facility and didn't get medication. And we have seen some bad habits, Mr. Speaker. When we passed the Facility Improvement Fund Act, we said that all proceeds from health facilities should be retained for purposes of improving services, procuring medication, and taking care of basics. Some counties have come up with county legislation where whatever facilities collect, 20% is remitted back to the Treasury, and that 20% is then used for general budget support without any relationship to health service delivery. Mr. Speaker, I'm glad that the Health Committee recently pronounced itself on such a matter in one of the counties that it visited, and even the Public Accounts Committee has also been confronted by that matter, and we have stated clearly that national legislation overrides county legislation, and where there is an inconsistency, national legislation shall prevail. So I want to urge the county governors, the members of county assembly, to ensure that their Facility Improvement Fund acts at the county level are aligned to the national legislation, because that is the only way we can ensure that whatever we collect from these facilities goes back to be reinvested in those facilities, so that someone coming with the universal health cover and is looking for treatment at a level 2, level 3, level 4 hospital does not stigmatize SHA because the facility is bad. A lot of the bad vibe about SHA is because the facilities themselves are not up to speed. You go to facilities, sometimes you find the clinical officers are on a go-slow, you find the nurses or doctors are on a go-slow because they've not been paid for an extended period. You find there is no medication in the facility. It is not the national government to provide medication and medicine in facilities. It is a responsibility of the governors. And so people will say SHA is not working when they come to a facility and there is no medicine and they are told to go and buy from an external facility. Whose problem is that? Is that the problem of the national government, or that's a problem of the county government? They will say SHA is not working when they come to a public facility and the doctors and nurses are on a go-slow. Whose problem is that? Is that the problem of William Ruto in Nairobi, or it is a problem of the county government? They will come, they'll say SHA is not working when they come to a health facility and they find patients are sharing beds, ambulances are not there. That is a failure of the county governments. Mr. Speaker, those are some of the things that we hope that governors would engage this Senate on, to find ways of ensuring that as they are the ones with the constitutional responsibility of primary healthcare provision, we also provide them with adequate resources, because resourcing has been the biggest problem. And we have undertaken that in this budget, 8.94 billion will come for purposes of the clinical officers, and we would be willing to negotiate for even more, but that can only be done if the heads of the county governments can demonstrate fidelity to the Constitution, can demonstrate fidelity to accountability, and can accept to be oversighted, and can accept to be advised and directed by this Senate. Mr. Speaker, I support this report of the Health Committee, and I do pray that with the recommendations that we have made, where we have asked the various entities to provide time-bound implementation matrix for realization of the return to work formula, for conversion and onboarding of UHC staff, for empanelment of facilities run by clinical officers, and for according of pre-authorization rights to clinical officers. I do believe that if these are implemented, then the history of strikes, 100-day strikes, will end. And if our clinical officers are reporting to duty every other day as required, I believe that it will reflect on the overall outcomes, overall health outcomes of the country, and will also improve the universal health coverage that this country has boldly and bravely piloted. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I do support.
Thank you, Senator Kanjwang. Now, honorable senators, from my dashboard, there is no other senator seeking to contribute to this particular motion. And in the absence of the mover, I hereby direct that reply to this motion be deferred to tomorrow, so that the mover of the motion can reply and we progress to process from there. I will rearrange the order paper and direct that order number 30 be called out.
Order number 30, the National Construction Authority Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 15 of 2025, second reading.
Senator Eddie Okech.
Mr. Speaker, I want to move this motion, which is the National Construction Authority Amendment Bill. Mr. Speaker, this is a very important bill that I'm bringing to this House because, Mr. Speaker, more perceptive as most of us might know, we have had a lot of...
Senator Okech. Properly move.
Yeah, so
the bill.
I wish to move that this bill be read for the second time, Mr. Speaker. And then I can then continue by just, bring attention of this House to the fact that we all know that the construction sector plays a very serious role in the development of our country. When you think about any infrastructure, Mr. Speaker, there is no any infrastructure that can build without a proper construction mechanism. And so is our economy, because really, Mr. Speaker, having been the chair of finance and budget, having been the chair of transport, roads, and housing, and having served in the finance and budget of the Senate, the Committee of Finance and Budget in the Senate, and also having served as the CPIC chair, vice chair, I can assure you that construction plays a critical role in the economic growth of our country. In fact, if you look at all the sectors that do ensure stable income to our people, construction is leading in all of them. In the same way the construction industry leads in contributing to our economic well-being as a nation, it is equally the same way it also leads in impacting our environment, Mr. Speaker. And therefore it's critical to start looking at what are these impacts that the construction sector is having in our country. Of course, looking at the positive impact is an easy assessment for all of us, but definitely looking at the overarching negative impacts and negative externalities of construction in this country is a major problem that we're still having in this country, Mr. Speaker. And because many countries right now have made strides in terms of climate change response and dealing with the environmental pressure that comes with climate change, Mr. Speaker, it goes without saying that we must play a catch-up with other countries. Today, if you go to Germany, Mr. Speaker, you will find that even mere housing construction or any other form of construction, whether it is a commercial building or residential building, there is an intentional way with which Germany is looking at responding to climate change, whether that is in terms of following the carbon footprints of those particular constructions, or whether it is the issue of making sure that there is good use of energy or conservation of water or linearity in terms of consumption of anything that has got waste. It is important that that country is looking at making sure that environmental understanding is put into a serious housing code of anything that is being constructed in Germany. And that is not dissimilar to what is happening in Netherlands either. Because if you go to Netherlands, there is no any construction that is now going on. The National Housing Code of Netherlands is very keen to ensuring that environmental sustainability and cost division in development of housing is something that must be critically looked into. If you go to Sweden, Mr. Speaker, and other Nordic countries, Mr. Speaker, you will realize that it is crucial to be able to consider the National Housing Code in a way that do embrace environmental sustainability. And again, this is not dissimilar to our brothers and sisters who come from the East, whether it is in Indonesia or Malaysia or the famous Singapore, which, Mr. Speaker, time without number, I've always argued that when the president and the broad-basers say that we want to make development akin to Singapore, the attempt is not in whatsoever an attempt to take Kenyans to be Singaporeans or have people migrate to go to Singapore, but it is in the quest of being able to adopt to international and global standards that do define development in those countries. And one of those that I do admire is the idea of being able to have serious understanding of carbon footprints in places like Singapore when they are constructing their roads, when they are constructing their buildings, and when they are doing any other form of construction in their country. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I think it is time that this bill must be introduced in this House to be able to help the National Construction Authority rethink the entire regulation framework in terms of just thinking about climate change response and resilience in terms of where and when we are doing our buildings, Mr. Speaker. I do understand, Mr. Speaker, that there has been an attempt to actually rethink our entire architecture of the National Housing Code. I think that right now, Mr. Speaker, we are still hugely dependent on the housing code that was established in 1962. Between 1962 and now, Mr. Speaker, many things have happened. Many things have happened in different countries that we are competing with. Climate change has become a serious conversation. As late as 1988, when a scientist called John Johnson came with this idea of climate problems to NASA, Mr. Speaker, this was a NASA scientist, and brought it to the United Nations, Mr. Speaker, we have lagged behind even about thinking about just the outside environment and not the housing environment. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, this particular bill seeks to ensure that we can be able to amend Section 5 of the National Construction Authority Act, the Mother Act, that is CAP 118, to ensure that that amendment can insert specific requirements related to climate change responsiveness in ensuring that the housing that we are going to develop from the time this bill will be passed can ensure that there are regulations, there are proper laws, and there are proper guidance that can put a mechanism for which we can be able to address the risks that come with climate change, Mr. Speaker. So if you check on clause 2 of this bill, for instance, Mr. Speaker, you will find amazing proposals. But let me just start by saying that if you look at Section 3 of this Act, I'm proposing here that we need to look at the authority's capacity of being able to put up agencies that could be relevant to this idea of climate change. Because if you're building our houses, Mr. Speaker, and people are just doing them with some designated zoning that happened in 1962 and continuously have happened for the last 50 years, Mr. Speaker. Yet, these new buildings that are being constructed now, Mr. Speaker, are constructed at a time when climate response is the most important thing that defines budgeting, defines resilience, and also defines protection of hazardous nature, of vagaries of nature, Mr. Speaker. It is critical that we look into the entire agencies that deal with housing construction. I want to give you, for example, Mr. Speaker, we have been dealing with the issue of energy and how energy has become difficult to find even in our communities, Mr. Speaker. Rural electrification has been a major issue that people have been able to talk about, and that rural electrification do take a lot of money. Mr. Speaker, is there a chance that there are some environments that when you are doing construction of both residential housing as well as commercial housing, you can start considering solar energy systems as a part of legally integrated requirement into those constructions, for instance? Because if you want to only depend in a place like Turkana, where there's abundant solar, and you want to only depend on being able to extend the national grid by hydropower to go all the way to Turkana, yet there is resource in solar energy, Mr. Speaker, we are missing the equation and conversation around this issue of climate resilience and climate sustainable housing and construction in our country, Mr. Speaker. Close to that, Mr. Speaker, I can tell you for a fact that energy using wind is a very strong opportunity for the country, Mr.
Senator
Speaker.
Osotsi, you will hold
Senator Eddy.
Senator Eddy, sorry, you will hold your thoughts there. And when the House resumes, you will have 50 minutes to conclude on moving your bill. Now, Honorable Senators, it's now 6:30 p.m. Time to adjourn the Senate. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until tomorrow, Thursday, 23rd of April, 2026 at 2:30 p.m.
For the big, for the small, the short, and the tall. Peacemakers, risk takers. For the optimists, pessimists, exhibitionists. For long distance love. For the far-sighted, nearsighted. For introverts and extroverts. For the thinkers and the doers. For old friends. Coca-Cola. For everyone. For the big, for the small, the short, and the tall. Peacemakers, risk takers. For the optimists, pessimists, exhibitionists. For long distance love. For the far-sighted, nearsighted. For introverts and extroverts. For the thinkers and the doers. For old friends. Coca-Cola. For everyone. For the big, for the small, the short, and the tall. Peacemakers, risk takers. For the optimists, pessimists, exhibitionists. For long distance love. For the far-sighted, nearsighted.
Na 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 na. na. Baby, I love you so. Love you so. I love you so. Baby, I love you so. Love you so. I love you so. Everything that I have, I give it to you. My body and my soul, I give it to you. Don't you ever be afraid, I will never leave you. And forever till I die, I will love you. Now walk with me, hey, until the end. You and I, it is ride or die. Now walk with me, hey, until the end. You and I, we will conquer this love. Baby, I love you so. Love you so. I love you so. Baby, I love you so. Love you so. I love you so. Life is too short, let's enjoy it. Those hating on us, don't you mind them? A big smile upon your face makes me complete. Forget about those tears you are shedding. Now walk with me, hey, until the end. You and I, it is ride or die. Now walk with me, hey, until the end. You and I, we will conquer this love. Baby, I love you so. Love you so. I love you so. Baby, I love you so. Love you so. I love you so. Baby, I love you so. Love you so. I love you so. Baby, I love you so. Love you so. I love you so. Baby, I love you so. Love you so. I love you so. Baby, I love you so. Love you so. I love you so.
Our school is called Tabaka Academy. Let's do the magic of Tabaka Academy. We have a lot of classes. This is our preschool block, whereby daycare phase 1 and 2. Here we have HOI's office and our staff. This makes learning easier.
Tabaka Academy is a private school that is found within Kisi County, and it provides a good learning environment where we have a good teacher-learner relationship. It provides all sorts of activities. On the other hand, we have learners who come from less privileged families. They are not able to provide or to cater for school fees. So what we do usually, we sponsor them. We have engaged the Australia part, whereby we have sponsors whom come to school and they request that they need learners who need help, and we have done so in our school, and we are very much happy that we have assisted so many learners. And the other side is that we have schools from within, including public schools. We have engaged them in competitions. Remember, Tabaka Academy has got a very big field where we can host the inter-school activities, the co-curricular activities. And we are so much happy that we are capable of doing that.
Katika shule yetu ya kibinafsi ya Akademia ya Tabaka, tumeweka mikakati ambayo inawezesha wanafunzi kupata masomo ya kiwango cha hali ya juu. Kwanza, wadadisi wetu tumewaandaa vilivyo kuanzia mbinu ambazo wanazotumia katika ufunzaji.
Tabaka Academy is not just a school, it's a digital hub. All the activities done in this school are in the digital school management system.
In our school, we have a digital app that which we use to admit our learners, and the app helps us a lot in admitting learners. Again, we use it to invoice learners, to give out the receipts, and when we go to our classes, we use it to mark the register, which a parent can see whether the learner has arrived in school or not. In the class, also we use it to enter marks and upload the marks, which learners, parents can see those marks even outside our country. Last week from the app, we have an announcement. We can make announcement through the app using that digital app. We can be able to announce anything to the parents. The app also helps us to enter exams, assessment of the learners, the progress. The app helps us to record, to enter those marks. After entering, we upload to parents to see the progress of the learner. The parents are able to see those assessments in their phones. Even if you have a smartphone, you have this other phone, you are able to see the assessment of your learner.
Farming is the backbone of Kenyan economy. Here in Tabaka Academy, learners are introduced to early farming.
Katika shule yetu ya Akademia ya Tabaka tunafanya kilimo. Tuna kilimo aina mbili. Kuna upande wa kupanda mimea na upande wa mifugo. Upande wa mimea tuna sukuma, tuna kabichi, tuna ndizi nimetacha, na pia tuna dania. Hivyo vyote ni vyakula ambavyo tunatumia shuleni. Kwa hivyo tunapatia shule kazi rahisi, hasa mkurugenzi wa shule tunapatia kazi rahisi anapoenda kufanya hisabati zake za kufanya kupiga hesabu za chakula. Sisi kama shule tunamuhusia na wanafunzi wanamuhusia, na hizo pesa zinatumika katika shughuli za wanafunzi.
These are the pigs. They are for agricultural learners projects, and we also slaughter them for meat.
Shuleni tuna nguruwe ambao mara nyingi tunawatumia kama nyama kwa wanafunzi na pia walimu, na pia nguruwe hao tunapata mbolea kutoka kwao, na mbolea hiyo tunaitumia katika upanzi wa miche na inatusaidia katika upanzi wa ndizi pia.
This is our fish pond. We eat these fishes, which helps us to be strong and smart. Fish is rich in proteins, which helps us to build our bodies.
Katika shule yetu tuna bwawa la samaki ambalo limechengwa na kuna samaki ndani. Tumepata kufuna mara ya kwanza na tunaelekea kufuna mara ya pili. Samaki hawa tukiwafuna mara nyingi tunatumia kama chakula, na wale ambao watasalia tunawauza katika soko iliyoko karibu hapa Tabaka. Tunapata fedha na fedha hizo tunawekeza kwa banki ya wanafunzi kwa ajili ya masomo. Pengine wanapokuwa na ziara mbalimbali, tunaenda kwenye akaunti, tunatoa pesa zao, tunawaongezea mafuta kwa gari. Kwa hivyo inakuwa ni tunawapatia kazi rahisi wazazi wao.
This is our chicken farm. Those in boarding sections eat eggs from this chicken so that they have balanced diet.
Tuna kuku hawa tunawatumia kama nyama kwa wanafunzi wa bweni. Mayai ambayo tunapata kutoka kwa hawa kuku tunatumia mayai hayo pia kama chakula lishe bora. Kwa sababu ya protini, mayai ni muhimu hasa kwa wanafunzi wetu ambao wanakuwa. Lingine ni kwamba tuna ng'ombe. Ng'ombe hawa ni ng'ombe wa maziwa, sio ng'ombe wa nyama. Ng'ombe hawa wanatusaidia maziwa. Maziwa hayo tunatumia kutengeneza chai, kupika chai kwa wanafunzi na pia walimu na hata wageni wetu wanapotembea hapa shuleni. Lingine ni kwamba tunafuga kondoo. Mnavyojua kondoo ni wanyama ambao wanatusaidia nyama na pia kondoo wanatusaidia kinyezi. Kinyezi hicho tunatumia kwenye samaki. Kinyezi cha mbuzi na kuku ni chakula bora kwa samaki wetu. Pia tuna mbwa kuhakikisha kwamba kuna ulinzi, hususan wakati wa usiku. Tunaweka ulinzi mkali kwa sababu kuna wanafunzi wa kike na wanafunzi wa kiume, na pia tunahakikisha kwamba wanafunzi hao wote wako chini ya ulinzi mkali hapa shuleni.
Our school has a state of art science. This is where learners get trained.
Our learners enjoy the practical parts. We do the theory in class, then we merge later with the practical works. Where they come, we do, they get engaged, do together. That has helped in memory of the concepts in most contexts. Also, it has helped in proper placement of core competencies of CBC, such as learning to learn, critical thinking and collaboration. Also, it has helped to enhance most of the basic science skills.
We have a big field which we play different kinds of sports. Sports have been the pillar in Tabaka Academy. Through sports, the school has gone to higher heights. Remember, sports and games help us to become strong and fit.
Sports is a great activity because our government has ensured that all schools can call out for curricular activities. Majorly in our schools here we participate in many kinds of sports. I personally am a coach when it comes to handball. I'm very much privileged because my team has progressed to county level, but I'm aiming higher other than that. Through sports, we are able to identify talents in our learners. We are able to tell this learner is good in handball, this learner is good in football, this learner is good in netball, volleyball, whichever way. Because as facilitators, we do exercise, we do a lot of practice, and then from there, we are able to tell which talent this learner is able to do well than the other sports.
In our school, we have indoor games like chess and solitaire. Chess game helps us in critical thinking, problem solving, and analytical thinking. Chess is a game of strategy. our dormitories. We are modern and safe.
Sleeping is not just sleeping, it's sleeping with comfort.
This is our school bus. Our school bus here helps in transporting learners from home to school and from school to home. And we also use it for trips and tours. In our school, we value natural habitats. For example, flowers and trees growing around the school. This makes us have fresh breath every day.
For the big, for the small, the short, and the tall. Peacemakers, risk takers. For the optimists, pessimists, exhibitionists. For long distance love. For the farsighted, nearsighted. For introverts and extroverts. For the thinkers and the doers. For old friends. Coca-Cola. For everyone. For the big, for the small, the short, and the tall. Peacemakers, risk takers. For the optimists, pessimists, exhibitionists. For long distance love. For the farsighted, nearsighted. For introverts and extroverts. For the thinkers and the doers. For old friends. Coca-Cola. For everyone.
jana si juzi, si leo si kesho, wangu kidosho. Uwe wangu wa milele, nikatae nipe kiwewe, nikubali nipige kelele, kwa nguvu usikie wewe. Napo sasa naamua kutoka kwetu kutumia, karibu nawe naja. Jana si juzi, si leo si kesho, wangu kidosho. Uwe wangu wa milele, nikatae nipe kiwewe, nikubali nipige kelele, kwa nguvu usikie wewe. Napo sasa naamua kutoka kwetu kutumia, karibu nawe naja. jana si juzi, si leo si kesho, wangu kidosho. Uwe wangu wa milele, nikatae nipe kiwewe, nikubali nipige kelele, kwa nguvu usikie wewe. Napo sasa naamua kutoka kwetu kutumia, karibu nawe naja.